Hey there. In the last video, we put together the framework or layout of how our GUI is going to look. And in this one, we're going to actually make it work. So before we get into the functions that we didn't add anything to, let's go back to the script from the last set and copy over our pdf.class and load PDF and add to writer functions. And we're going to do something to them before we get too deep into this. If you notice with this add to writer function, we've got a couple parameters here that are a bit repetitive. We use this PDF object, we use a start and an end, which is all contained within this PDF object anyway. So instead of calling these as a standalone function, we can make this into its own class method, like so. So we'll need to change this to self, and then we can get rid of this. We still want to have this writer in here so we can tell it which one. But now it doesn't know what start, end, or PDF are. But if we use self here, it'll be able to access it from the PDF doc object that's calling it. We've got PDF start and end here. So nothing too crazy, just a nice way to clean up our code, and it'll make a little bit more sense once we start working with our when we add these to writers. So let's go down now to load. And this is the function that's going to get called when we click on this add to PDF or add PDF button. So we don't want to just pass, we want to do something. And we'll use that file dialog that we've used before. And then pass in a couple tuples here. So PDF file ends in PDF, and then in all files. That could be anything. Oops. Like that. Now that we have that file name, we can make a PDF doc using that. And now we have to do two things with this PDF. So we have our PDF list that we made in the last video that we want to append this to. But that doesn't touch our list box here. So to do that, we're going to use Listbox, insert. And we can't just put the whole object here. We would just keep everything inside this Listbox. But what we can do is put the display string. And that's just that shortened file name that we made earlier. And I guess before we leave this one, let's just print our PDF list at this point so we can watch it. As we add files, we can make sure it's working. Remove is what happens when we remove a PDF. So what's going to happen here is we'll have selected one of the files inside of our list box, click remove. So we want to remove that from our PDF list and from the list box. So to do that, we need an index. That's going to be a little confusing, so just bear with me for a second. Okay, so what's going to happen here is we're going to go to our list box. We're going to take a look at the current selection. We're going to return a number once we call the first item out of that list that it returns. And then we turn that into an integer. And all that's going to do is whichever item we have here, whether it's 0, 1, 2, we'll save that as our index, and we'll be able to work with that later, which is basically the next line of code. So we have our PDF list. We can call the pop method at that index, and we'll remove that PDF from our list. And then to get rid of it from our list box, we can just go listbox delete. And actually this time, let's just use anchor, and that'll just get rid of whatever we have currently selected. And like before, let's just print out what our PDF list is so that we can make sure it's working. We're going to skip save PDF and go right to display. So if you don't remember, display is what we use bind on to, I guess, attach it to this listbox select, which is what happens whenever we click on one of the items in our listbox. And when we do that, we're going to want to see what file name it is, how many pages are in it, and then what the current start and end page are. So actually, before I get into that, we're going to need the index so we know which one we're talking about. And then we can also make a value if we get at that index. And this will give us that display name string that we can use. So we can do that and we can set file name using that value. And then these pages we'll set using PDF list at that index. Pages start is going to be PDF list at that index start, and end we will just set to PDF list at that index dot end. So this will just look into that object, pull these items out, and then set the text variables that these are to those values. And the way this is, we actually should be able to run this. So let's take a look and see. Let me make sure I'm in the right directory here. Yep. And let's see. Okay, so good sign. Right off the bat, it loaded. Now let's try to add some PDFs. Okay, we get our dialog window. Document 1. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Whoops. So we added PyPDF into this load here, but we didn't import it. So import PyPDF too. Let's try that again. Okay, add. Okay, so we see this is what our PDF list looks like right now, just one PDF doc. Let's try to add a second one. Okay, now we have 2 items in that list, so that's good. And we can check our display here by clicking on one of these. And display takes 0 positional arguments, but 1 was given. I don't know how many takes it'll get me to remember to add this. I'm just going to go ahead and put in star args here, and this we're not going to use any of them. We could clean up our code a little bit, but just do that and we'll be good. So let's try this again. Third time's a charm. Document 1 and document 2. Click on document 1. All right, we see document 1, 2 pages, start page, end page. And document 2 is 3 pages, start page, end page. So that's all working. But let's say we only wanted to get the last page from here. We did that. We're not updating the object, so it's always going to go back to that 1 there. So we'll fix that real quick. Okay, so let's go back to kind of our layout code and then go right to the end, right before we run that main loop. And we're going to do something here with that start and end. We're going to use this trace method when it's written to. And let's just say we're going to call a function called setStart, and then for end, trace, when it's written to, we'll set end. All this is going to do is attach these text variables that we have to when they're written to and they're updated, we'll run these functions that we're about to go make. So let's go up to the end of our function area. And let's just define set start. And like display, we're just going to throw in these args here. Okay. Same thing as before. We'll grab that index like that. And then using that index, we can take our PDF list at that index. And let's just set start equal to the integer value of whatever is in start using that function. Pretty straightforward. We'll do the same thing with end. So let's just copy and paste. Set end. That's the same. End and end. Just like that. So let's just try it out real quick. Run this guy again. Now we'll add them backwards this time, document 2 and then document 1. So let's do something ridiculous here. Let's just say we want document 2 to end on page 30 and start on page 17. We do that. Now when we click back, we can see that we are persisting what we want those to be. So let's say 9 and 9. And we're getting some errors down here, but things are working. So, yep, 9 and 9. So that's working. We don't have any controls over what the user can put in here, which we could fix, but that's beyond the scope of what we're trying to do. So, last thing to do is give us the ability to save these PDFs. So let's go up to Save PDF. And this should look pretty similar to what we've done before. We're going to make a writer using PyPDF2 PDF file writer. Have an output file name that we can use our file dialog. Oops, file types. Just to be consistent. Okay. Let me see. A little bit zoomed in. And our output file. We're just going to open a file with the file name, write binary. And then this is where we get a little bit different. So before we just copy and pasted the same add to writer, but now we're just going to make a loop. So for each document inside of our PDF list, we'll use that doc and we'll add to writer. And we'll just pass in writer. So this now will take, for each of those documents, which are those PDF documents, it's going to look inside to that start and end, and it'll set the loop to those values, and then using that loop, it'll add those pages to the writer. So you can see how that cleans it up quite a bit. Then our writer, we want to write to our output file. Close our output file. And let's just close our window too. Like that. So let's see if we can save this. I'm actually going to add both twice to prove that we can do multiple documents. And let's just take the first pages the first time, and then the last pages the second time. So let's see, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. And we'll just call this first, last, like that. Let's save it. Okay, looks like no errors or anything. First, last, let's open it up. Okay, page 1 of 2, page 1 of 3, page 2 of 2, and page 3 of 3. Excellent. So that worked. And then the last thing that we can do here to kind of clean this up a bit, we're not going to go too crazy with this, but it's a good habit to get into, especially when you see easy cases for it. I'm just going to make a new file here, and I'm going to call this PDF Merger.py. And inside of this, I'm going to import PyPDF2, like that. So what we can do is go to here, take our load PDF and our class, and we'll just cut those out of here, paste them in here. And now, instead of importing PyPDF here, we can go ahead and from PDF Merger that we just made, import everything. And there's always better ways to do this. When we use these like wildcard imports, you kind of clog up your namespace, but that we're not worried about that right now. But the way this is written now, we don't have that class in here anymore, and we should be able to still run it. Let's just make sure we can open up one. Yep, just like that. So it's just referring to this file in the directory, and just a Another way to clean up your code a little bit. So now we have a PDF merger library that we can use depending on what we make. So you noticed in the last few videos we copy and pasted basically everything in here into each one. Now we could do all that just by adding this one line. So just a little thing to think about. But yeah, so we've got a pretty decent PDF merger now. It's not executable, so it's a little hard to use. You still have to get into the command line to start it. And you can't really change the order of these without removing them and re-adding them. So, like usual, that's what we'll cover in the next video. So thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.